feel like Gordon Bombay would have taken his career to even further heights.
Everything's flashy, everything's cocaine, everything's
Fun.
Open wide for some soccer.
I don't care what you think about what your personal thoughts are at home. I care that you hate the
Call
Cowboys.
this college rule.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Sports Experience Podcast. Chris and Dom here tonight. And before we get into the episode, we are recording here at Engle Studio, which is for all your audio needs here in Tucson, Arizona. Also, if you could, and it would be awesome, go and hit that subscribe button here on the YouTube and subscribe and follow us on all our socials. So much appreciated. Chris, you want to get into it?
Yeah, let's get into it. We are in a block series. We are in the Fathers and Sons of Sports. And because last week we were talking about Dale Earnhardt, this one we got to go Dale Earnhardt Jr.
He has a son, Chris.
That's correct.
He has a son. Dale Earnhardt Jr., Ralph Dale Earnhardt Jr., born October 10th, 1974 in Kannapolis, North Carolina. His dad, obviously, is Dale Earnhardt, the Intimidator. His mom, Brenda, her dad was Robert G. Sr., was a NASCAR car builder.
I was going to say, this is a NASCAR bloodline through and through.
Oh,
you know
absolutely.
What I mean? In fact, this is NASCAR royalty coming to the forefront. Parents divorced early.
Yeah.
I think we talked about that.
Dale married a few times.
Yeah, I think we mentioned that, where Dale kind of hopped around, and he kind of had a rough childhood. He was kind of a...
and his mom was super strapped for cash, too.
Yeah. Because, especially in this time, Dale wasn't making a bunch of money. The money wasn't in it. It was kind of like racing was tough. He had 3 wives. It was,
It's like he's Mormon, only he's not. There was even a stage where Brenda had to give up custody of Dale and his older sister Kelly to Dale and his new wife Teresa. So, yeah. Let's see. But growing up, it was Kelly, his sister, who became almost a mother figure for him, because Dale and Teresa were out on the road doing NASCAR stuff during the race season. I read a good story about him growing up. He was always a mischievous kid.
Yes.
Always a mischievous kid. When he was 8 years old, he stole $80 out of his dad's change jar so he could buy a Game Boy to get his Dr. Mario on. His stepmom, Teresa, would put locks on all the doors inside the house.
Well, he was very, like they said, he was very hard to control. He was very... just really a wild kid, and then he ends up going to a military academy.
Yeah, they sent him to military school. His sister actually joined him there as well.
Yes.
I had read that. Sent to Christian school, or the Christian school Oak Ridge Military Academy at age 12. He basically was, trying to reform there and try and not get beaten by his dad.
I heard him say this when he was younger, that he had stomach problems a lot because he was always very nervous. His dad was always in the spotlight, so it always made him very nervous and agitated. And he said the military school actually helped him just kind of form who he was, and he was kind of ready to race right away.
Well, yeah. With those bloodlines.
Yeah.
You have
That's
to.
what I mean, royalty.
Graduates high school in 1992. Unlike his dad, so we one-upped him there. Take that. Stay in school, kids. He attends the high-performance driving school at age 17, and then in the stock division, he had his first race was a 1979 Monte Carlo.
Oh, yeah.
Pretty sweet.
I thought it was interesting his dad actually paid for half of that car, unlike what Ralph Earnhardt, not even Sr., but Dale Earnhardt Sr.'s father told him that he had to get his own car.
Yeah.
But we see Dale Earnhardt Jr. actually graduates high school, and his dad actually helps him buy a car. So
he was probably
like,
I'm not going to keep him off the track if this is what he wants to do.
I'm sure he was extremely excited about the whole thing of that, because he even worked in his mechanic shop, Dale Earnhardt Sr. mechanic shop, as a mechanic. So he was really from the ground up learning about cars and racing, and he ended up going to community college and getting a degree in
automotive technology. Yes, which if you're working in a garage, even if you're not driving, that's still super important to have.
So he knows, that's what I mean. So he knows the car from the ground up.
Yep. 96, 97 in the Busch Series, he competes in 9 races. In 98, he wins one of them, and in 98, he was in his first Winston Cup Series race, an exhibition in Japan. So he's ready to go.
And
he's almost
driving
NASCAR minors.
And he's driving for his dad's team. He's getting like a little work in here and there. And we see the famous number and the famous sponsorship, I feel like. And that's the thing about these NASCAR kind of things is you always kind of associate it. Like I'll always associate Wonder Bread
With Ricky Bobby.
But I'll always associate Dale Earnhardt Jr. with that number 8 Budweiser. I don't know why, but even because he changes it later and doesn't even keep the Budweiser, but I don't know why, but that's just what I always associate.
Oh, and just like I'll associate Old Spice with Cal Naughton Jr.
Exactly. It's just one of those things. Even the smell. I'm like, Cal? No, son of a bitch.
The house is haunted, Ricky.
House is haunted.
So, in his best finish in 1999, he drives in 5 Winston Cup races, finishes 10th overall at Richmond. But in 2000, his first win was at the DirecTV 500 at the Texas Motor Speedway, which is pretty cool, I think.
Well, they were saying 2000 was like his breakout year. And we see, I think this Texas Motor Speedway was the fewest starts anybody ever had before winning.
Broke his dad's record.
So now we see him, like all this hype's kind of going around. Dale Earnhardt is still racing. So it's looking like literally this guy who everybody knows as being the Intimidator, his son's coming up and he's winning right away.
But he doesn't have a mustache, Chris,
That's
which
true.
I always felt was so upsetting.
That's
to
so
me.
true.
He was the first rookie to win the Winston, the Pepsi 400. And in one of the races that year, his dad and his older half-brother, Kerry, competed in a race, which I
thought that was
first
great.
time since the Petties,
Yeah.
which is also NASCAR royalty.
I thought it was very Canadian hockey, if you know what I'm saying. But that's the thing that was great. There was just like all of this look into the future. You know what I mean? Like Dale Earnhardt Sr. was looking like he was going to retire, become the owner. That's the thing was he's racing for his dad's company. I think it was the Earnhardt.
Dale Earnhardt Inc.
Yeah.
Incorporated.
So now we get into 2001.
Yeah. So his first year, I did want to add. He won 2 races, had 3 top 5s, 5 top 10s, and 2 poles. So I mean, he's awesome. Out the gate, he's doing a really great job.
And just want to reiterate, pole position is the place that he gets, not his sexual orientation. Go ahead, Dom.
I'm coming for you, Ricky, baby.
The look when they cut back to the announcers.
Rob Riggle.
My favorite thing
Oh, my God.
in that entire wonderful movie. All right. So February 18th, we
went over to the first episode, or the Dale Earnhardt episode.
2000, his dad literally got him and Michael Waltrip, the first and second, and there was a crash at pretty much the last turn, and he ended up dying. The stuff that I found so kind of crazy about this was they were talking about how great these 3 drivers were going to be together on a team.
Yeah.
Because I never really grew up watching NASCAR.
Oh, neither did I.
Just like this, really, you understand how important the team kind of aspect is. And they were talking about that. And then after Dale died, it kind of like not broke this team up, but there was obvious like different emotions going around.
Well, yeah, the mustache is gone, Chris.
That's right.
That's the most important part.
I thought it was pretty wild. He actually raced the next weekend.
Yeah.
And had a very similar crash to the one that killed his dad.
Yeah.
So like they were saying that, I think it was like early in the race, and some people were saying like maybe he shouldn't have came back to that next weekend, but what he was saying was just like, no, this is my life.
Yeah, if I don't do this, I might not ever come back.
Yes.
Right now. He returns to Daytona, though, for the Pepsi 400 that year, leads 115 out of 160 laps, and goes from 6th to 1st in 2 laps. That's amazing. That's so cool.
I thought it was also awesome. This was the first race event to come back from 9/11, and people were saying that because we see him become a real fan favorite, but people were saying like this was what cemented like his dad dying at Daytona, him literally coming back to where they run Daytona again but backwards, and him winning this,
Oh yeah.
like it's this monumental event that racing fans will always look to.
Yeah, he won that Cal Ripken Jr. 400. That was the first one since 9/11.
Yep.
Yeah, so he won it one again. In October, he wins the EA Sports 500 at Talladega and finishes the year 8th overall.
Was that the one with the restrictor plate that he got in trouble for?
That was later, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought that was kind of an interesting one. No, that was in 2001.
Oh, yeah. Okay, then. Yeah.
So I think this is because we kind of keep seeing this happen with his crew chief, and I tried to look up how common this was, and I really don't know. But he's docked 25 points because they fail an inspection, and we'll see this come up later and later.
Yeah, it keeps happening.
There's two, and that is something that keeps really messing him up in the points race, which we see that he never really gets. And then the other thing, which we see in the beginning of the 2002 season, is he gets a concussion and keeps it quiet.
It's a 90s concussion, Chris, in the 2000s.
That's right. And that's the thing that people were saying that was pretty wild, was he was driving for like a month before he was just like, yeah, no, I still have effects from that concussion a month ago. And people were like, wait, you had a concussion a month ago?
He finished no better than 30th in like the next 3 races. Like, he didn't take any time off when he should have just been like in a dark room.
Yes.
Recuperating. But he sweeps both Talladega races to come back that year and finishes 11th, which is pretty impressive considering you have a concussion from a car crash.
Yes. Which I want to know how common it is, because I feel like every crash at 180 is going to give you that.
Oh, I mean, we talked about it in the Michelle Akers episode.
Yep.
Like, it's not just football that has CTE.
No, yeah.
Like, especially NASCAR. Jeez. Because they compare all those football hits to being in a car crash.
Yeah, exactly.
2003, he wins his 4th straight at Talladega after car crash in that race, but ended up pulling that one out. Finishes 3rd place in the standings that year. He wins up in Phoenix, too, in 2003. I guess that Phoenix Speedway does get used. We pass it on the 10 all the time, and it's not. Yeah.
There you go. And this is when he starts racking up the most popular driver award, which he wins.
That's his award to win every year, it seems like.
Yep. So this is what I mean. He wins off of that first year, off of the 9/11 one. 9/11.
9/11. Ladder to heaven.
It's a ladder to heaven. And that was the thing, was people were saying like, no, we love him from that time.
No.
So, and forevermore. 2004, he almost wins the sweep speedways, which I think is like very much. And they were saying like this was like probably one of his best little runs.
Yeah.
But he came up against Dale Jarrett, which was one of the best drivers of that kind of era, and they were saying like he almost did stuff that his dad did, but he was kind of like the guy below,
Right. Yeah. 2004, also a big win. He goes to the Daytona 500, 6 years to the day his dad died, and wins it.
Yep.
That's some, like, awesome stuff right there. Like, to not only go back, but to win after that long gap. I mean, Dale, if he were alive, would be like, it only took you 4 years? This is bullshit.
Well, it was very much like that, because his dad, it took him for,
2 decades?
19 tries, and then it was 6 years after his dad won, 3 years after his dad died.
He suffers a crash, though, this year.
I was just going to say, it's another crash. This one, not a concussion, but he gets burnt a bunch.
Yeah, like 2nd and 3rd degree burns.
Like Michael Jackson burnt.
Like Michael Jackson burnt. Yeah, that's true.
That's the best way I can put it.
But he didn't live at Neverland Ranch.
Ah, shit.
The car slipped off course, hit a concrete barrier, which is like, oh, God. He burst into flames when he was still inside.
He was still inside, yeah.
Yeah, like he was still in the car.
He got 2nd and 3rd degree burns all up on his neck. He wasn't actually wearing the proper safety because it was technically an off week.
Oh, no.
So, like, he was, like, they were just practicing going around, and he didn't have those little, like, lapels that come up.
Yeah, right. I don't know what I mean, like,
yeah,
I know exactly what you mean, though.
Yes,
yeah.
and Yeah, so he got burns all across his neck and his back, and that cost him some races.
This probably could have been his season to win.
That's what they were saying
title.
was he kind of screwed himself over a couple of times, if to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, he wins the Busch and Nextel races. He qualifies for the 10-car playoff and even wins his fifth win of the year at Talladega. But he's docked 25 points for an obscenity hurled, I believe, in a media appearance, which, with all due respect, Chris, and I'm saying this with all due respect, that ain't worth an oil painting of a dolphin and a whale getting it on.
I said with all due respect.
But you can't say whatever you want.
Well, I thought it was kind of crazy because it came off of the Super Bowl Justin Timberlake, Janet Jackson thing.
Yeah.
It's weird. We had 2 Jacksons referenced in one episode.
Let's bring up Tito right now. That's 3.
And these drivers literally would curse all the time. And they would just bleep it out. And it wasn't like all the time, but it was like it wasn't an uncommon thing.
They're grown-ass men, Chris.
For grown-ass men, and that's what kind of he was saying, because I think he was the first one hit by this, because it literally was like right after it. And he was like, well, I don't give a shit. And they're like, 25. 25 points is
That's a lot of
ton.
NASCAR.
Yeah,
I mean,
crazy.
that's a make or break. He drops out of the running after this, the points loss. Finishes 5th, though, this year.
Yeah.
6 wins, 16 top 5s, 21 top 10s. And, of course, he's named the most popular driver.
Every year.
Every year. It's like Ozzie Smith and his gold gloves. It's just assumed. Tony Uri Sr. is the new DEI manager. And here coming up in 2005, he... let's see. He only has 1 win this year, though.
Yeah. This is so there was like a
Chicagoland in July.
There's like a mix. There's like a crew chief, or his crew gets kind of like shifted around.
Yeah, it's there's like a shuffling.
There's a shuffling going on, and they actually shuffle it back and bring Tony Uri Jr. back, or Senior. I forget which one.
Yeah, Senior.
Because he really his performance really lagged in this year after 2004, which was one of his best years. We see that he also starts to become a car owner.
Yep.
So he does what his dad does. He's like, well, I'm making all this money. Why don't I just become?
Why don't I just buy cars?
Yep.
2000, he finishes 19th in points in 2005, but he's still the most popular driver, Chris.
Every year.
Every year. 2006, he honored his dad and grandpa on Father's Day with a black painted car for himself, a number 8, which I believe was his grandfather's number. Finishes 5th in the standings in 2000. So this is kind of like the peak of his career,
Yep.
I would say. Like when he could have competed for all these
Points
victories.
victories. Like his dad was, the constant
What did he
winner.
win, 17 times or
Yeah.
7 times? Something. Like that. 2007, he's docked 100 points. Teresa was docked 100 points as an owner, and Tony Uri Sr. was fined $100,000 and suspended for 6 races.
Yep.
Illegal mounting brackets on the car. It's like putting weights in the front of the sled, Chris.
That's right. That's exactly what I thought.
And using sprinters.
And they also said fuck on them. So it was,
of course,
100 points. And that's... You think 25 is a lot, 100, and that's kind of why they do this. They're just like, no, you cheated in that race. You're not going to be eligible to be the points winner.
Yeah.
So
it's like
I get it, but
Tom Brady apparently doesn't. But.
Whoa. we don't endorse that talk. We're Timmy B fans here. But that's the thing that people were saying was he kind of like shoots himself in the foot, where he has these like 2004, 2007, where he has these like good years, but he docks himself points. He's,
Yeah, but 2007's an important year, though, because on May 10th, 2007, he announces he's leaving DEI, Dale Earnhardt Incorporated.
I thought this one was cool, too, because his dad left, I forget who it was, but when he was 32, and this is when he's 32, and he said, well, I'm leaving Dale Earnhardt Incorporated. I'm going over to Hendrick. And what he said was he kind of left with some not so nice parting words.
Bitter taste in mouth.
He said, I want to win titles.
and he wanted more control. But, you can think those things, but to say them out loud, I mean, that might be some bad karma coming your way.
Well, it's kind of shitty thing to say, and if he had gone on to win titles in this, you kind of could have been like, okay. But I'll have to say this. There was a couple of times, and he kind of references this in 2004, 5, 6, and 7, where he was doing really well in some races and his engine blown, he had his engine get blown, and he was getting blown too. And
NASCAR Roadhead Division.
He was referencing that, and that was like the big thing. God, I can't wait for that.
It's my bit. I love that bit.
I love it. Because he's referencing that because he was just like, well, that kind of took us out, and then this is where like I'm
gonna do things my way.
Yeah, and he goes over to Hendrick thinking it's going to be better. 2008.
He wins a Budweiser shootout, but that's an exhibition. He lost 50 points, though, in one of the races. Rear
again.
Spoiler, not right height. A lot of docking. A lot of non-porno docking in
Very
this
much
episode. But the team was fined $35,000, and it was suspended for 6 races. And the crew chief was on probation until December 31st, 2008.
So it's kind of obvious he wants to cut corners, and his team is kind of into that. So that's what I mean.
What are you into? Cutting corners? Nice.
And
finishes 17th this year.
Yeah.
So he's
not good.
No bueno. I don't know if his dad would be happy with that.
2009, rough year again.
Yeah.
Starts it off early with a crash. I see this
124 at lap 124 at Daytona 500.
You see this kind of play out not the way he was envisioning it, Yeah.
Ends up finishing 27th in that race. Really, the only highlight of that season was finishing second in Talladega, but he finishes 25th. His dad finished his lowest finish was 12th, twice. That was it. 2010 on February 13th, the Daytona Nationwide Series. His car flips upside down. Upside down on the backstretch, but does redeem himself at Daytona, finishes second.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
If you watch the crash, it is one of those classic NASCAR flips where you're just like, whoa,
Yeah.
He walks away.
This is what I came to see.
Exactly.
Let's see. On this year, though, I did want to add, since it is a father-son episode, July 2nd, 2010, he breaks out the blue and yellow Wrangler Chevrolet, just like his dad.
Yeah. So his dad's original colors were the blue and yellow, and he busted it out for this, I think it was at Daytona, but it's something called the Jalapeno 250.
Yeah.
So it's just a smaller race. And
Jared Fogle was in attendance.
that's correct. He did wear a mustache. It was glued on.
Who, Fogle or Earnhardt?
Both.
Of course. Finishes the year 21st. But guess what, Chris? He's finishing in the 20s, but you know who NASCAR's most popular driver is? Dale Earnhardt Jr.
And I believe this is like the 8th consecutive year.
Something ridiculous.
It's crazy. This is when, I wanted to point this out because he transfers from his dad's company to Hendrick Motorsports, and he's still the most popular. Every single year, he's the most popular. This is when people are starting to say, why is this guy who sucks the most popular?
Oh, yeah. It's, oh, God, what's a good sports example of that? Matt Stafford before he went to the Rams. That's
good.
A good one. That's a very good one. But where are we at? 2011 finishes 24th at the Daytona. He wrecked with 4 laps to go. In his next 7 races, he recovered to have 5 top 10s. Fortunately, runs out of gas at the Coca-Cola 600. But you know what, Chris? It's a good year for him, actually. He finishes 7th. He's still the most popular driver. I bet you there were so many NASCAR fans that just hated him.
Well, that's what people were saying was just like you loved him or hated him,
But it's not like you loved or hated Dale Earnhardt, his dad. Like you loved or hated his dad because it's like that son of a bitch just keeps winning.
Well, that's what people were saying was just like his wins were so few and far between. The hatred really wasn't that big, but the love really was.
No, dude, you know who he is? He's fucking Kirk Cousins.
Oh shit!
That is the perfect analogy. Oh my God,
Oh, I love that one.
he's Kirk Cousins. 2012. He always seems to show up at Daytona though. Like if he doesn't crash, he always seems to do well at those races.
He had a nickname called like the Pied Piper of Daytona because he always shows up and he kind of leads these races and then loses them at the end, which is very much like his dad.
Yeah.
Like he's very similar in that.
Did he lead the Daytona Towns children into the water?
Fucking A.
So he finished second at Daytona in 2012.
Another concussion.
Another concussion. Let's see what else here. Quicken Loans 400 over there in Michigan, leading after 95 laps, and ends up winning that one, which snaps his 143 race winless streak. Almost 4 years worth of races.
And that's what people were saying was just like, okay, so this guy is just not a winning racer. We're just kind of...
He's there. He's good enough to be there.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a professional.
He got 7th in the point, so he's good enough to be there. But that's what they were saying. It's just like he's not...
You go to those meaningless Pro Bowls, Kirk Cousins. You go, Kirk Cousins.
That's right.
But yeah, you referenced his concussion. He's had a lot of them, dude.
Yeah.
And I think he's even said he's donating his brain to science after he passes, which good on you, Dale Jr.
Well, like we were saying, he came in the era where you wouldn't even say that you had him. So these are the ones that he said he had.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. It's just like, I bet he had...
He's a kid of the 90s.
Two or
He's
three-
hiding
yes,
those
exactly,
concussions. He's
exactly.
hiding them. Like he's wish his parents hid that change jar. Forget that Game Boy.
Son of a bitch.
Yeah.
2014.
No.
You got
I didn't
13?
No. I got to bring this up though about the concussion though.
Oh, yeah.
He had to
All
sit
right.
out 2 races. It was a 25 car crash
Oh,
at
yeah.
Talladega. It broke his streak of 461 straight races, which is crazy because he almost was like his dad's attitude, like I need to be out there. Like it just feels weird not being in the car. But 2013. Second place again at the Daytona 500. This is actually a bounce back year for him. 10 top 5s, a career high 22 top 10 finishes, and 5th in points.
Yeah. I thought that was interesting with all the top 10s because you could tell that like this was the year that it really all clicked.
It's like when the Vikings finished 9-7, Chris.
Woo, doggy.
Oh, so I apologize for all the Kirk Cousins hate. It's not even hate. It's just a good analogy.
It's just the truth.
So in 2014, his crew chief ends up stepping down to do some broadcasting after the year. But it doesn't matter because in 2014, the Pied Piper arrives and drives those kids into the water, and he wins another Daytona 500.
I thought that was pretty cool that he gets one more under his belt.
He's got
on
one
this.
more than his dad?
Yeah.
I think that's
in this
pretty awesome.
iconic place for him more so than anybody else. And this year he actually has a really good year. That's the other thing that people were saying was shit is really clicking for him where they thought it was going to be just done.
He wins again the following week in Phoenix, in Vegas, finishes second. Finishes, I believe, second again in Bristol, and he was almost the first guy to start a season since Richard Petty with 4 top 2 finishes. I think he finished 3rd or 6th in Bristol. Sorry.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is probably his best year, I would
Yeah.
say, out of
With the Daytona win and just like I think he has 4 wins, 12 top 5s, like he really put it together. Obviously not a points victory. He's not a points man, all right? He fucks, all right?
He's a grower, not necessarily a shower,
Thank
Chris.
you. That's what I wanted.
Finishes the season 8, 4 wins, 12 top 5s, 20 top 10s, and guess what else he wins, Chris? Most popular driver?
That son of a bitch.
It's that winning smile is what it is, Chris.
I think this is 13 consecutive, and that's what people were saying was just like, yeah, nobody else is going to win. That's just his award.
Always a bridesmaid, never a bride.
Yep.
2015, 3rd at Daytona, wins at Talladega in the Coke Zero 400. I'm loving these NASCAR names.
Yep.
Subway jalapeno. Give me some of those jalapeno chips, Bubbles.
Please.
Let's see. In Kentucky, he rear ends Danica Patrick.
This one was interesting because he says his brakes went out. Danica says that's bullshit. He like targeted her, and he was just like, can you even imagine that happening out of nowhere? I was just like, all right, we're rear-ending Danica.
Yeah, right? Like, you're not going to rear-end a lady driver. Usually they're the ones rear-ending you.
Hey, come on now.
Come on, this is Tucson. You go north of River, it's just silver hairs going, I remember the Dust Bowl traffic.
So she was pretty pissed. She actually
Oh, no, she was salty as shit,
She actually
dude.
rams his car in the pit row, and like she thought he did it on purpose. She was like convinced, even though he said that was kind of ridiculous. But
Got it at Walmart, or got it at Target.
Yep.
It's pretty nice.
pretty nice.
Let's see. After the season, of course, he wins his 13th straight most popular driver in NASCAR.
That's right.
But now we're winding down kind of the end of his career. 2016 finishes second in Bristol. But in July, he starts getting concussions again. Misses the second half of the year. Basically, just kind of almost a lost season for him. But it doesn't stop him from winning his 14th consecutive most popular driver.
Literally, he didn't race for half the year, and he still won. So there you go.
I wish I had that much panache to me to be like considered popular without
Winning.
winning.
I mean, he does win, but he's not.
He wins, no, definitely,
Yeah.
but it's not like he's his dad winning
no.
points titles.
Exactly. And some of this is from that. Like, there's so much history with this that it's,
The fact he's out there as a professional, though, that speaks for itself, though.
Yep.
Great driver.
Cal Ripken fucking style with all those races in a row, too.
That's true. 2017, he ended up wrecking in the middle of the Daytona 500, but top 5 at Texas. His only one all season, Chris.
Yeah.
It's kind of, we're winding down here.
Winding down.
15th most popular driver. Every time I read that, I'm just like, is he winning?
It's great. I love it. That's how NASCAR is.
It
He
is.
took that post 9/11 victory, which a lot of people don't know, that 9/11 hit NASCAR fans the hardest.
It did.
That's the thing. Like, even people that lost loved ones in 9/11 didn't hit as hard as it did to NASCAR fans.
No,
So.
it hit as hard as when 3 crashed into that wall at Daytona.
Ooh,
That's
son of
what
a
it did.
bitch. I'm just saying, that might have been the worst year that America ever did done have.
It did done. 2018, 2019, he's basically kind of, out of it. He's competing in races called the Hooters 250, which I enjoyed.
Well, he really is still like this huge name. I imagine he generates unbelievable amounts of cash through that shit.
Oh, dude, it's so marketable with that last name alone,
Yep.
man. Like,
So they're
and
just
good
like-
on him for actually being smart about it.
Yes.
So let's see. The what do we got here? He had JR Motorsports, has his first title there, and now he's doing some broadcasting.
Yeah, he moves into broadcasting and team ownership and just being a rich guy.
Yeah, Junior Motorsports.
Yeah.
He's partners with Kelly in that business venture, which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
His sister, Kelly.
First title for Chase Elliott in 2014. So he is an owner. He does it. NASCAR and NBC since 2018. Finished his career. I know we've joked about it, but he did finish his career with 24 wins.
Yeah, no.
Winning one NASCAR race puts you above everybody else.
We definitely were joking about that. And unfortunately, he is going to be compared to his dad.
which is not fair.
Which is not fair. But yeah, he was definitely a winning driver, a great driver, an aggressive driver. And I loved his attitude when it came to driving, like we were saying, like 400 races without missing one.
That's what he always wanted to do, though.
Yep.
And that's so awesome and impressive.
Every single Earnhardt, that's all they wanted to do.
Is race car. And you know what?
Go
Still
fast.
has more. Go fast. You ain't first, you're last. He has more Daytona wins than his dad.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.